good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time zone that you're in. I guess possibly depending on the part of the world that you're in. But my name is Bob Cooper. I'm the president of Elite, and I would like to thank you so much for joining us. I know that your time is really incredibly valuable. A lot of things you could be doing other than joining us. So the fact that you were kind enough to give up your time to do that is an absolute honor. You're going to be in for a real thrill today. You really, really are. You're going to really enjoy what you discover, because what we've done is I've identified 4 guys in this industry that I know are game changers. These are guys that are rock stars. These are guys that really have a profound understanding of this industry, and you're going to have the opportunity to hear from each and every one of them. They're going to share some tips, some ideas with you. But the thing that I'm going to ask that you really bear in mind is this. This session is your session. It's not mine. So even though I'm going to be facilitating, even though I'm going to get things going, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a little button down there that says chat. All that you'll need to do when you have questions for any one of these gentlemen, all that you'll need to do is type it into the field that says chat. When you type it in, it's just going to come to us. The audience is not going to see it. The question is going to come directly to us. And then I'll be able to take a look at that question, and I'll be able to ask the panelists that particular question. So again, this is your opportunity not only to hear from 4 incredibly successful people, but equally as important for you to actually be able to ask them questions and get the answers that you're looking for. So I'm very confident that you're going to really enjoy. So look, we're off to the races. It's time to get started. I'd mentioned that there's 4 extraordinary people here with you. So let me tell you who they are. I'm looking at my screen. In the upper left-hand corner, I see a dear friend of mine. And I got to tell you, Brian, I've known him for many years. And Brian, tell us about you. I'm going to do a little introduction about you, but you tell us about you first, if you could.
Okay, good. Thanks for letting me go first, Bob, so you don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
No, I'm Brian Weeks, and co-owner of ATC Auto Center with my brother. Kind of grew up in the business, and my brother and I bought the current business from our dad and 2 of his brothers back in October of 1999. So we've been at it quite a while, and have a lot to owe to Elite and Bob Cooper for us being where we're at.
Hey, Brian, thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Very, very thoughtful of you. For those of you that really don't know Brian, I have to embarrass him a little bit because I have to tell you about him so you understand why we all need to listen to Brian. All right. He and his brother have done an amazing job with their business. They do about $2.5 million a year in sales. They have 12 employees with their 2 different locations. And Brian is a guy, by the way, he's been written up in countless articles, spoken nationally throughout the industry, done other webinars with us like this to share his knowledge with other people. But the thing that I'm going to hope that all of you bear in mind about Brian is quite a few years ago, he decided to really do, let's call it a rebrand of his business. And when I took a look at the video that he created for his business, when I took a look at all of the imagery that he created, not only the digital image, but all of the hard copy image, everything that he's done with his business, it is absolutely breathtaking. So any of you that wonder, gee, I wonder what a really extraordinary shop looks like and what kind of imagery they put out there to the industry, you need to take a good hard look at Brian and his brother Chris, and you need to take a good hard listen to what he has to say today, because I'm going to learn a lot from him as well. So Brian, thanks again for being here. I know that you're going to do an outstanding job. Chris, my friend, great to see you. So how about Chris? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, Bob. I am located in Shelby, North Carolina. I'm about 40 miles west of the big town of Charlotte. We've been in business since 1974. I was 10 years old. My dad started this business, 100% tires. Did that for the first 20 years. And then this last 20, 25 years, we focused on tires and auto repair. And yeah, man. Great little town we live in, and love the business. And I'm also fortunate enough to work with you, Bob. We ran into each other several years ago, and I'm a business development coach here at Elite. And man, I'll tell you what, that role keeps me in the trenches. It keeps me alive. I have a lot of clients, and we talk about relative issues every single day, and it keeps me on my toes. So, I'm grateful for that opportunity, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and really great to see you here. And thank you
Thanks.
so much for the kind words. For those of you that don't know Chris about his business in Shelby, North Carolina, I could tell you he does 1.8, or I believe around 1.8 million. Am I correct with that, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
That's about where your number is. He has 12 employees. And Chris is, I mean, the awards that he has won in tire industry and the auto repair industry, the awards that he has won are just really countless. Chris, too, has spoken nationally to audiences, written in countless publications. He's a guy that really has a profound understanding of the business. And here at Elite, we're honored to have him working with us as a business development coach. And one of the things that I didn't mention about my dear friend Brian is actually a member of Pro Service as well. He was in our Top Shop 360 program, him and his brother, for a number of years. And now he's in Pro Service, which is a group of 90 of really extraordinarily gifted shop owners. So these are two guys that I know intimately well, and I'm thrilled to have them as a part of Elite. Next on the screen, I'm looking at my dear friend, Mike Delacruz. For those of you that don't know Mike, haven't had the opportunity of meeting him yet, Mike is just an amazing person. He's actually our vice president of sales, does an extraordinary job for us. And when he came to us, he brought a lot of experience, a lot of industry experience. He really understands the industry. He was actually with Demand Force and then for Kukui with quite a while. Then he was with Broadleaf before joining us, and we sort of scouted him away. And having Mike be a part of our company is really a blessing. Two beautiful daughters, and lives up in the Oakland area. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit more about you, whatever I might not have covered.
You summed it up pretty well. I was just going to say I'm on the West Coast, so I'm still drinking my cup of coffee here. So it's a little early, but it's really great to be here. I came on board at Elite about 8 months ago. As Bob had outlined, I was with Demand Force, Kukui. So my stretch in the auto aftermarket goes back over 10 years. But it's more to me than just the 10 years. It's the journey really getting there. Touring the country, launching a marketing campaign, visiting over 1,000 repair shops around the country, being able to go to dozens and dozens of industry trade shows every single year. It's really a blessing just to be part of the industry and be part of Elite. So it's really great to be here. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for all that you're doing for us. And to all of you in the audience, one of the things I like to mention is Mike really has a profound understanding of the online presence, the things that you could do in a world of technology that's going to really help your brand, help you with car counts, and just help you bring in more of the kind of people that you're looking for. So each of these gentlemen are going to bring something different to the table. Brian is going to help you with imagery, with marketing, with what you need to do with customer retention. Chris is going to obviously help you with customer retention as well, but he's also going to help you understand how tires could play an extraordinary role in your business as you move forward. And last, and certainly not least, is our dear friend Steve. Hey, Steve. Good morning for you. It's still morning for you, or good afternoon for you, I should say. Steve, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, with 2 young kids, it's hard for me to differentiate between mornings and afternoons now. I must have been up 3 times because my 4-year-old was sick. But anyways, it's part of life. So I'm Steve Lau. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate it. Such an honor to be on the panel with such esteemed people. I'm co-CEO of AutoLeap. AutoLeap is a modern all-in-one software solution for auto repair shops. We help shops better understand, manage, and grow their businesses. And a lot of our customers are top performing shops or well on their way to be top performing shops. And it's just something we're incredibly proud to be part of that journey. And so thank you for having me. Hopefully we provide you guys some nuggets of information that are core takeaways that are really useful for you.
Nice. Well, to all of the audience, one of the things I like to mention is obviously Steve has a profound understanding of technology and what's happening in the industry. And there's some seismic changes that are coming that I believe and Steve believes that you need to be aware of. So you're going to learn a lot from him as well. So look, with all of that said, I think it's about time for us to get started. And Chris, my friend, if you're ready, tell us about, we know that the industry is changing. We know that the manufacturers are certainly changing. We know about service intervals being pushed out. We know about propulsion ultimately going away from fossil fuel to electricity. Tell us what you think, what role do tires play in the coming years as we move forward?
It's a great question. And I think I'm really glad to be in the tire business and kind of that's where I cut my teeth. I guess if I cut my finger, I would probably bleed black instead of red. Got it in my bones. But You know, the word disruptor, you know, we've had so much of that. That word just keeps getting thrown around. But, you know, propulsion is going to be the thing that I think we're all focused on. And, you know, as auto parts slowly start being minimized, you know, drivetrains are going to change. And whether that's hybrid or all electric or, you know, hydrogen or whatever the fuel of tomorrow is going to be, it's a pretty sure bet that it's going to be propelling something that's rolling. I think we may have our own drones that we could get on and fly around like the Jetsons, but you know, that may be another lifetime. I don't know if that's something that this audience is going to be dealing with right now, but I can tell you that as we see vehicles change, we're working on all of them. We're seeing Teslas in our small town. We're seeing Teslas. We've been working on Toyota Priuses forever. You know, there's a lot of parts on those vehicles that still need and will need service for years to come, which is the good news. I guess it's interesting. I have conversations with clients and others that are in the auto repair business, and kind of for, you know, the technical term would be poo-poo on the tire business and refer to a tire technician as a tire buster. I would just have to say that's probably a 70s or 80s term that was used, and today's technician and what's required and what's going to be required in terms of tooling and training to service today's vehicles and tomorrow's vehicles, it takes a sizable investment, you know, and it's not something that you say, oh, okay, I'm going to get in the tire business. That sounds like a good idea, another revenue stream. I think you really have to look at it long and hard, because, you know, there is a cost to get into the business today and do it right. And tires are already included with chips. They'll be reporting to the cars. It's happening in medium truck. As cars become autonomous, somebody's got to keep up with that. They'll be reporting to the cars. So that's going to be an interesting thing that we have to look at. But for us in our business and in the tire business, and percentage wise, about 55% of our revenue is derived from tire sales and 45% from auto service. And it's been pretty consistent for the past 10 years. That's been a pretty good mix of what we do. And we're exceeding industry averages on GP. I know what auto repair GP is. Average repair order is, of course, less, but we see a lot more. We see a lot more cars, and so we have a lot of opportunities. My thing is with tires and talking about retention, it's an opportunity for relationships over and over and over. From air pressure getting checked to tire rotation, I want, if somebody has a mobility issue, I want them to be thinking about us. And whether it's a low tire light, or whether it's a rotation, or whether it's a service or a maintenance issue, I want them to think about our company. So a lot to be said there. I don't know, I may have passed my time limit on this, but you know, it's remarkable where this is going, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Nice for sure. So, and you had mentioned mobility issues, which tells me that you understand the business that you're in is helping people, not just rubber, not just auto repair, which is really, really cool. Brian, what about you? What comments do you have or thoughts do you have on what Chris just shared with us about the future?
Well, it's funny. The one thing that stuck out to me was talking about chips that are coming in tires. Quite frankly, it's something that I'm not familiar with. You said it's in the medium duty trucks, but I can see where that is going to be something that's going to have to be learned. And there's a lot of benefits to that I could see. But I'd like to learn more about that side of it.
Yeah. There's you know, there's been chips in tires for a while. Right now they can't get chips in cars, but it's that's coming, but it'll be a much dumber chip, right? But it has the ability to tell the temperature across the tread. If there's an alignment issue, if there's a pressure issue, I think TPMS will eventually, go away, and we'll probably go back to valve stems or something. That's it's interesting. Who knows? It's pretty exciting stuff.
So guys and gals, to all of you in the audience, thank you so much, Chris and Brian. To all of you in the audience, again, this is your show. This is your opportunity. If there's one person that understands tire business and how the tire business is going to really secure his future where other shops are struggling, it's a person that you're listening to right now. So this is your opportunity to type in any questions that you have about that particular subject matter. Let's put him to work today, okay, guys and gals? So type in those questions. And Chris, if I'm understanding you clearly, as time unfolds and as we need less service with automobiles and less repairs with automobiles, these customers are going to be able to continue to come back to you for rotations and for checking tire pressure and just all of those other things. And it's going to allow you to stay in touch with them and keep those relationships alive.
Absolutely. I read this term the other day and I really like it. And it stuck with me and I wrote it down. Mobility solution strategies. And that encompasses everything. It's about moving people, keeping people moving forward. And if something stops that, if it gets in the way of that mobility, your business, our industry, we want to be on top of mind.
So right now, Chris, if I'm understanding you clearly, if these guys and gals that are online with us, the ones that are not in the tire business, it sounds to me like you're strongly encouraging them to take a good hard look at the opportunities that are there for their future.
Absolutely. And I think there's probably there's probably three things that you have to look at. I think number one, if you're not in the business and you want to look at it, you look at vendor relationships. You have to have a vendor that can logistically take care of you, that has a supply that can help you work a program and also help you train. I think that's key, very key.
Nice.
The second thing is installation. All the things that are involved with that. There's plenty of partners in the industry that will help you with that. And there's a wide range of getting into the equipment that you need to do that. So
nice. Mike, what about you? I know that we're limited with time here, but we do have a couple minutes left. Is there anything that you'd like to add to what Chris was saying about tires and the role they'll play in the future?
No, I mean, I think both Brian and Chris really nailed it. I mean, every shop that I go to, even to this day, I mean, they're really thinking the future and thinking ahead. So I think they nailed it.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Steve? Anything that you want to add to the conversation before we move on?
No, I think it was really well said. I think even if tires may not be the highest margin type business that you do, it keeps those customers coming in, and you got to think about the lifetime value of those customers, not that one specific tire job. So I think you guys hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah, so true for sure. And guys and gals, please, ask those questions. Now's a great time to type them in. And bear in mind, when you send in your questions, the only people that will be able to see them will be us. So fire them off to us. We'll take a look at them, and time allows where we're gonna get to all of your questions. So okay, next up. And Brian, I'm going to shift gears to you a little bit here. Tell us a tip or two on what shop owners might want to think about when it comes to their brand and their imagery. Any suggestions that you could give us that could help them?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like Chris said, there's so much there that it's going to be tough to pack all this stuff in. And just a little quick story about kind of where we got to into the branding and marketing side of what we did. Purchasing the business from our dad and uncles, it was a transmission business, Augusta Transmission Clinic. So when we looked at changing gears and expanding that part of it, we were cornered into two things. Augusta in the name, which, the location, if we were looking at doing multiple locations, we were cornered in. The transmission side of it kind of didn't lend itself to people understanding we did more than just transmission work. So that is what led us into that process. And there's a lot of ways that you pay for education. It's either directly or indirectly. And the first process that we went through, we went to a local marketing agency and thought, all right, well, what we need is just a little simple name change, a logo change, and we're off to the races. And that was a very expensive lesson. I can remember when we finally fired that company after spending probably almost $20,000 with them, is that guy leaned back in his chair and told my brother and I, he said, guys, I don't think you understand, because what we were after was they presented 20 logos to us and they were like, all right, pick one out. And I wanted to know why, what things meant. Why did the shapes, what kind of, what did it do to people psychologically with colors and shapes, and what the name was going to be. And they couldn't answer that for us. And, when he leaned back in the chair and says, I don't think you guys understand, you throw enough money at this, we can make them believe anything you want them to believe. And that's when we pushed away from the table. So we went back, didn't really know what to do. We hired a company, were some guys that completely changed our world, and got us to where we're at now. And where it started was they followed us around for 3 months, asking questions. They sent out questionnaires to our employees' families, our families, to our vendors. And it was simple questions like, who are you? What do you stand for? Well, you internally know what you stand for, but do those around you understand what you stand for? And when it began to start unpacking who we really were, and you ask one of your family members, what does ATC stand for? And they were like, well, I mean, you guys are honest and you work hard. I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about. So at the end of the day, it began to create the culture that we have in both of our organizations. And through those cultures, it was the values. It was the core values of who we were as people deep down that transmitted into what our business was. And from our core values is what was the springboard to creating a long-lasting brand. At the end of the day, when you have the right culture, and you have the right values, and you build that around that part of it, people come in and they can sense that. It's those intangibles. When somebody walks in your business and they're like, oh, okay, the colors and the look and the feel are good, but something feels good about this place. And when that happens, then you look inwardly for us, it's all about the team. It's all about all of our team members. And we felt like we're not a call to action type company. We feel like if internally we all stick to one common goal, one common vision, our values are all the same and aligned, then we will be able to present to the public how we care and create relationships. For us, it's about creating relationships. We just happen to work on cars to do that, which is completely different. We did a lot of secret shopping. We did so many things early on to understand. And everybody out there says, we've got the ASE technicians and we've got the best technology. We've got the best tools. We've got this, we've got that. And they get in that cycle of a call to action. And that's what everybody's saying. We wanted to come outside of that and be a different place for people to trust when it came to automotive repair. And by doing that, I can say that in the 22 years that Chris and I have owned the business, we've never done a call to action in the normal advertising medium that people use with television, radio, print ads, mailers. We've never done any of that. All the way down to the point where we believe so much that if we just had people understand who we were and how we care, then that would create basically a tribe around us, and it would spread to their friends and families and coworkers. As a matter of fact, when we opened our second location, the only thing that we did was we called 5 of our good customers that were in the area of where our second location was going to be. When we did a grand opening, we called 5 of them. 5 of them showed up, and we scheduled it throughout the day. We gave a couple of hours in between each, and 4 of the 5 showed up. We never did any marketing, brand, anything like the local advertising to draw people in. We came in, we put the key in the door, we unlocked it, and we're like, all right, here we are. And we took those 4 people and we had the phone ring one time. The next day, a customer walked in and the phone rang 3 times. And it built from that point because we wanted people to understand who we were. When they did, we didn't have to get into that cycle of throwing so many things, mailing this or doing that, sending these things out, because the minute you stop that, then the process stops and you've got to start that back up again. But if they truly trusted us and believed us, then that part of it would spread. So that's kind of the basis of what we do. And I'm not saying we do it right, nobody else does. I'm just saying that's what we do, and that's what's grown our business. And that's what I feel like separates us from just the automotive repair side of it in our area. I think that's the reason why we stand out.
Boy, what a great message, huh? What a great story. What a great message. What a great approach to building a really wonderful business. Mike, my friend Mike Delacruz, anything that you want to add to what Brian just said about the strategy?
Yeah, no, Brian just gave some really solid nuggets. I mean, I wrote down a few different things, but Brian is somebody who, this is actually the first time I've met Brian, but I know of his shop, and he is definitely one of the top shops in the country for sure, without a doubt. And it's interesting listening to Brian talk about his strategy because it really does separate him and his brother away from a lot of other competitors. With these strategies, right? When he talks about advertising and, you're right. Once you stop the advertising, sort of the work stops. You have to create this consistent process, whatever you do. And what you guys do over at your shop, I mean, it really speaks a lot of volume. And now I know the reason why you guys are super successful. So really awesome stuff, Brian. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, there you go. Mike, great add-ons for sure, Mike. And all of the audience, one of the things I like to mention, and this is to Brian's earlier point about call to action advertising, is over the years, we've hired some, let's just say marketing geniuses. And by that, I mean the people that teach the MBA programs at some of the best universities in North America. I mean, these guys are brilliant when it comes to understanding marketing. I'm talking about the people that have relationships and understand Apple and Tesla and Starbucks and all the great companies. And the one thing that I've learned from them is study after study after study continues to prove that brand awareness advertising gives you a better ROI than CTA advertising. Brand awareness advertising gives you a better ROI. So people that do what Brian is talking about, much like putting up a billboard, right, Brian? They'll put up a billboard, right. Then they won't get 1 or 2 customers to go, oh, this doesn't work. I put up a billboard a month ago and I didn't get any customers off of it. But it's that brand building that's going to give you an extraordinary ROI every single time. It's a trump for sure. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, this is your meeting. I know some of the questions that are coming in are not relative to what Brian is specifically saying right now, or Chris. So we will be following up with you as well as we can and answer as many questions as we can. But type in those questions right now, if you could, about Brian and what he's doing with his business. And while you're doing that, Chris, is there anything that you'd like to add to what Brian was just talking about how he's been building his brand?
It's remarkable, Brian, to hear the level of detail with the design of the logo. That was very that created a transparency. I don't know you that well yet. Hopefully we get to spend some more time together, but into the way that you've engineered what goes behind that logo. And that's very important. As a tire guy, I've done all the things the wrong way for a long time. Like our building and our property was completely covered in tire manufacturer signs. We had very little branding of our own up until, 15, 16 years ago. All those signs came down. We got rid of all of them. And so, man, kudos. That's you're way ahead of the game. And I think there's so much behind that logo and the design of it. And I love how you said, even the curvature of the letters and the colors, and it all elicits and transcends to your customers and to your team who you really are. So yeah, very, very smart stuff.
Thank you, Chris. It's funny.
Well said, Chris.
you don't really think about the psychological impact of what you see until you really truly study it. And when you study it, and then you take a group of people that believe the same thing, yes, it's a logo, but it's so much deeper than just a logo. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. You know, they want to go just put a new coat of paint on an old barn, and the old barn's still what it was on the internal. And until you dig down to the center of where you're at and look outwardly, then that's when the brand becomes an organism, a living, breathing thing that's long standing. Because, you know, this has been, I think we're about 12 years into this. And, you know, we didn't change much. You know, the business was Augusta Transmission Clinic, and it went to ATC Auto Center. But, you know, so much developed from the values and the culture. And it's been actually amazing to go along that journey. And I will say that the people that have helped us with that have been just extraordinary. They're still working with us today.
Yeah, what a great story. Guys and gals, one of the other things that I'm going to ask all of you do as the audience is bear in mind when you're building a company like Brian is and like Chris has with their companies, I'm talking about brand building. Bear in mind that, as we know, we all know that as this industry continues, recruiting and staffing is going to become that much more of a challenge. It's not going to become lesser of a challenge. It's going to become a greater challenge. So finding and attracting and keeping the rock stars is going to be critically important to your success. The reason that I mention that to you is one of the things that every rock star, technician, advisor, doesn't matter what role they play in your company, one of the things that they all have in common is they want to work with the right people at the right company. And that's all about brand. That's not about discounts. That's not about buy one, get one free. It's not about save this much this week. It's all about the brand. When you have a company that you and all the people that work with you feel really great about, you enjoy the culture, you enjoy the company, you enjoy the principles, other people, the people that you're looking for, will really want to work with you. Steve, what about you? Is there anything, we have a few minutes left, a couple minutes left on this subject. Is there anything that you'd like to add to what Brian shared with us?
Yeah, when I heard Brian's story, I chuckled a little bit because we went through the similar branding exercise in our last business, also hired a consultant, also spent way too much money and got almost no ROI for that money. And my lesson learned there was exactly to what Brian was saying. Your branding exercise needs to be authentic to who you are as a company and your values as a company. And it doesn't come from top down, it comes from within the company. Everyone around the company, we had an anonymous survey. What does this company mean to you? And then we had somebody aggregate all that information and synthesize it, and then ultimately came up with sort of our brand, our mission statement, and our values. And why that matters is because people, when they believe in it, they live and breathe it every single day, day in and day out. And people can see it. It's super obvious if people at that company believe it or not. And the other piece that really resonated with me in terms of what Brian was talking about, you know, building the brand, what it also gets at is building trust with the consumer base. And unfortunately and unfairly, this industry there's a lot of distrust with the consumer and the shops. And I think by building a brand, you're able to build upon that trust and goodwill that you've built over the years. And that versus call to action, you get a much better customer who's coming because of your brand. They'll trust you when you recommend 5 additional services because they need it, versus being like, no way, I'm not doing anything else except for this tire change because I don't trust who you are and I don't know your brand. And so what you said really, really resonates. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Great add-ons. Well, look, before we move on, one of the things that I'm going to encourage all of you to do is you're probably sitting back there right now wondering, okay, what do I do? How do I pull this all together? And, you know, what's this journey all about? One of the things you might want to consider doing is searching your soul first and asking yourself, why are you in the business that you're in? What's important to you? Where do principles land with you? Have that conversation with other people that work with you, your other team members, and start that process of really figuring out who you are. I don't want to sound silly when I say who you are, but really anybody that's been through this exercise, and I know all these people on this meeting have, anybody that's through this exercise, you know just how revealing it is. One of the things that's worth a quick mention to really validate what Brian is saying is when we were looking at our brand and looking to come up with a new logo, I actually, and I don't know if any of you on this panel are aware of this, I actually hired 2 different companies, branding companies at the same time. I did not let either of the 2 know that I had another company working simultaneously. I was curious as to what both would say. And what was really interesting that they both came back, and after doing all of their due diligence, they both said we're a company that's all about principles and we're all about people. So this made us feel good about who we are. And that's marketing. When you start to realize who you are and what's important to you, and then when the customers understand that principles and people are important to you, then the cars, the dollars, and everything else just naturally follows. It really isn't rocket science. It's really not. Guys and gals, we're going to change gears again. Thank you, Brian, for the great recommendation to all of us. Mike, how about you? What about a tip or 2 that you could share with the audience, with your experience, that they could do to really, really dramatically improve their online presence, knowing that we're in a digital world today?
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite part, as you know. But yeah, when it comes to online presence, I always like to think about it as if I was selling my home, or if you were selling your home, you would want to design it in such a beautiful way that you attract buyers to do what? Be curious and want to know more, right? Want to go inside. So it's same thing with your online presence. You know, when someone in your community goes to Google and they type in auto repair near me, why should that potential customer call you? Like, would you call you? Do you have that online curb appeal that they're looking for, right? So, you know, a couple tips, you know, that I could offer, and when it comes to the online presence is, first and foremost, you have to claim your Google My Business page. Get familiar with it. It might be uncomfortable in the very beginning, but get familiar with it. Log on, play around with it. Nowadays, you know, GMB or Google My Business is designed in a way to give you all the analytics to run your business. I mean, they can show you the impressions, conversion rates, and give you scores on how you rank amongst your competitors. There's so many things that it could do. So first and foremost, claim your Google page. Secondly, ask for reviews or hire a company. I think somebody in the chat box mentioned hiring another company, but hire a company to get reviews for you. I think we all know that word of mouth is not going to go anywhere. It's how we've always run our business, going back to my great grandfather, and it's never going to go away. But I think a large portion of that is sort of shifted online, and I call it word of mouth 2.0. It's how we choose restaurants. It's how we select our movies, how we select our department stores, and so on. So try to collect as many reviews as possible to separate yourself from any of your competitors. And then lastly, and there's so many other tips, we could probably talk till midnight, but I don't want to hog up all the time. But lastly is your website. There's so many elements that go into a website, it would probably blow your mind. But if I could sum it up just a few things, first and foremost, make sure your website is responsive. It's not only mobile friendly, but it's responsive, meaning it fits within the frame nicely of whatever device that user's on. I think some of us have gone to websites on our mobile phone and we're constantly having to, you know, sort of pinch our fingers together, increase the font, move it around. You know, that gets annoying. And usually within about 10 seconds, I close the browser out and start shopping around to somebody else. And I think it's worth noting that 70% of people will not return back to a website if they were dissatisfied with their first experience. So make sure that the website is not only mobile friendly, but it's responsive. Also, make sure that you have the highest levels of page speed as possible. Your page has to load fast. If you go to Google and you type in page speed test, it's going to redirect you to a little area where you type in your URL, your address, the www. You enter that in, and then it'll give you all of your scores, how you rank from a mobile perspective as well as a desktop perspective. So definitely use that, type that in. As I mentioned, you know, once your page does load, you have to gain what I call interest and attention within the first 6 seconds. So I'll give you an example. If I had a BMW and if I went to a website that showed a Chevy diesel truck, the first thing I'm thinking is this person probably does not specialize in my BMW, right? So if you have a specialty, make sure that it's displayed at that first fold. There's always this uncertainty about, should I have stock images or should I have personal images? I say combine both. Because one, if I saw a stock image of a BMW, I know that this particular shop can specialize and work on my vehicle if I have a BMW. But I also want to know that they're community involved. So I'd love to see a picture of who's working on my car. This is Joe, ASE certified master tech. He's been with us for 30 years or whatever the story is, right? So your website definitely has to tell a story. And then lastly, a call to action, such as a phone number displayed at the very top. That's critical that it's displayed at the very top. It's also critical that it's a click to call. So if I find your shop on my mobile device, if I tap that button, I need to be able to go directly to your phone line, as opposed to having to try to remember the number, kind of toggling back and forth between my dialer and your website. Again, it gets annoying. Quick is easy. Quick and easy is what people want. Today, many shops also use a chat feature. So it populates at the bottom right-hand corner. So what it does is it gives those potential customers the ability to connect with you instantaneously. I know that was sort of long-winded. Hopefully I didn't hog up a lot of time, but hopefully that gives you some general ideas, and maybe some of that can work for you.
Boy, great tips, huh, guys, to our panel. What wonderful tips for sure. And to all of the audience, questions for Mike, now's a great time to type them in. It really is. Chris, what about you? What comments do you have on what Mike just shared with us?
How do you add something to the pro? I mean, Mike is like the guru of web. So, here's what I add.
Oh, too cute.
You're a good man. You're a good man. No, I think keeping your website simple. It used to be, and you can validate this, but it used to be when we first started putting websites up, is all about the business and how long we've been here and everything. People don't. I mean, they'll get to that. That needs to be at the bottom, but give them the call to action. They've got a problem with their vehicle. Get them moving as quick as possible. Give them the easy access to that schedule or to your text or whatever. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I absolutely agree, Chris. 100%. Simple is better. It really is. You don't want a clunky website where there's so many things on it, right?
Right.
But relevant things, right? So if I'm a potential customer of yours, I go to your website. I want to know what kind of services you provide.
Right.
Do you do oil changes? Can you work on my brakes, right? So
Right.
You've got to have stuff like that. And then, things you could get creative, which helps from SEO, and that could be another topic, but write blogs, how to prepare your car for winter. Those are things that I want to know as a potential customer of yours. Simple, better, like you said, Chris, but relevant content is absolutely key.
Yep.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Brian, what about you? Anything that you'd like to add?
And those are some great points, Mike. And I think the biggest thing that I could add is when you're investing in the social media and website side of it, you talked earlier, Bob, about an ROI. It's tough to put your finger on an ROI, especially the way people are nowadays. They're like, I want to spend X amount of dollars and I want this return. Well, with these type of situations, it's something that you have to commit to spending X amount of dollars and stick with it and do the things that Mike's saying. It costs money to do that, but that ROI will come tenfold down the road. But it's not something that's very easily pinpointed. You say, okay, I spent X amount of dollars on my website. I got this a return. You have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars and I'm going to get the good people to do the things that Mike's talking about, and it will pay off.
Agree,
Yeah,
Brian. And just kind of lastly, with regards to what you mentioned, just to piggyback off the ROI topic, there's a lot of companies, and I think somebody mentioned in the chat about call tracking numbers. Mm-hmm. This is something that's been popular for the past 3 to 5 years. And as time goes on, it's starting to become increasingly popular. This is how you track ROI. So, say my social media has a certain number, or my website has a certain number, or my PPC, my pay-per-click ads have a certain number. When those customers come in, what happens is that those advisors now plug them into the shop management like AutoLeap. And what happens with AutoLeap, it's connected to that program through a direct integration. It syncs that and takes that customer and says, yep, this customer came in from the AdWords. They spent $7,000. This is an existing customer, so they actually, many companies today have the ability to be able to granularly sort of break down that ROI and separate it from new and existing customers to give you that true return on investment. So really, really great point, Brian.
Yeah, for sure. And Steve, what about you? Is there anything that you'd like to add to what Mike just suggested?
Definitely. I mean, I think the ROI point is super relevant, and whether it's AutoLeap or a different piece of software, you can track ROI in a level of detail where you know that, hey, if I have an extra $5,000 to spend on marketing, my ROI is better on Yelp than it is on Angie's List or Yellow Pages, whatever else it is. And you can get to that level of detail. So it makes you spend that extra dollar in a very thoughtful way. But stepping back, I think, Mike was talking about managing your online presence. I think that's incredibly important, whether you want it to be or not. It's a reflection of your shop. And so if your online presence and you're neglecting your Google reviews and you have a 1 star out of 5, or you haven't claimed your My Business page and your website looks incredibly dated, that makes the consumer think about your shop as one that's incredibly dated. And maybe if they're not up to date on their website, they're probably not up to date on how to fix modern cars or modern car technology or modern techniques. And so just be cognizant of how that reflects on you as a whole.
Great point.
Boy,
Steve.
so true. You know
Right.
what?
Great
Great comments for sure. Mike, thanks so much for sharing us, and to the rest of you for adding in as well. Hey, Mike, I know that we got a couple polls. Audience, take a look at the screen. All right. If we could have your attention for a minute, Mike is going to launch a poll, and we're going to give you, let's say, 20 seconds. So go ahead, find the answer, type it in. I'll give you 20 seconds to do it starting now.
Should we do the Jeopardy tune?
Sounds like you volunteered to do the music.
Yep, you sing it, Mike.
Bob knows that I'm a big Jeopardy fan. Okay.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
There we go. Guys and gals, the correct answer, bing, ding, ding, ding. And it looks like the majority of you got it, actually. 4 to 5% is what the top shops are spending in advertising. Bear in mind, there's a couple conditions to this. Number one, and I was in the auto repair business for many years, so I've been down this road. If you're turning around a failing facility, if you have a facility that is upside down that you bought, you got to rebrand it and do everything else, you're going to have to dump a ton of money in it, and it's going to be far more than 4 to 5%. Number two, if you're in the transmission business and just do transmissions, you're going to be spending more than 4 to 5%. You're probably going to be up around 8, 9, in some cases 10%. And then lastly, here's one of the best kept secrets when it comes to setting a budget for marketing. That percentage needs to always be a percentage of where you want to be, not where you're at. So right now, if you're doing 750,000 in sales and you want to do $1 million a year in sales, then make sure that that budget is going to be 4 to 5% of the $1 million, not 4 to 5% of the $750,000. So you guys did a great job. Hey, Mike, we got another couple minutes on this. Let's quickly launch poll number 2 and see how these guys do.
Let's do it. Got 20 seconds.
Go ahead, guys. You got 20 seconds. Jump into this.
Here we go. Wow, these needles are moving in different directions. All right, 3, 2, and 1.
There we go. If you're not at the bottom of the list, which is the best place to be in this particular case, at 20% or more, then it's time to take a deep breath and take a look at your business and ask yourself what you could do differently. The reason that I say that is when we talk about 20% or more, also bear in mind, this is the profit of the company. We're not talking about you and your salary or an income that you take out for your effective working in the business. I didn't say on the business, but in the business. So if you're functioning as a general manager and if you're drawing a salary, that does not go toward that 20%. If you're on a service counter, that does, the money that you're taking does not go toward the 20%. So the 20% is the amount of money that the company should make beyond all of the salaries, all the payroll, and certainly including yours. This is a real number. We know that in some cases, no matter how well you run your business, you might not be able to quite get there. We know that there are a lot of things that are outside of your control. We also know there are a lot of clients that we have that are well beyond 20%. So if you're not at the 20%, you need to take a good hard look at your business. Obviously, if you're interested to learn more, we can help you with that as well. Mike, we're going to save another one for later, but we have one more. Can we launch one more? I think these guys are really doing a great job here.
Here we go.
Now, there's a toughie for you. You got 20 seconds. Go for it, guys. Okay, guys, time to go. Question number 3. Let's type it in. Looks like it's not launched, Mike, for some reason, huh?
Oh, it's not launched? It's showing as launched.
I have no idea. To all of our audience, are you guys and gals typing in?
Let's try this again. Let's see. We'll do 3 again.
Yeah, let's try launching poll number 3
there
one
we
more
go.
time.
It should be launched. Here we go.
Okay, if that one's not working, then we're sort of dead with that one. Then we'll move on. Let's do that. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on. Time to move on. If we could, Mike, we can close out that poll. I have no idea, guys and gals, why that one's not working, but we'll put you to work here in a minute anyways. Okay, my friend Steve, we're on to you. You ready, Steve?
Let's do it.
You know, Steve, take a couple minutes if you could, please, and tell us about some of the more important changes that you see in the industry and things that these guys need to be aware of.
Yeah, from my perspective, and I have a very technology focus in terms of my perspective on the industry, but I think technology is the single biggest risk in the industry in the near to medium term, but also the one biggest opportunity for many shops that I see in the near to medium term. You know, it's technology is changing more than ever, and what we're seeing is literally 100%. And Bob, I think you confirmed this in our last conversation. 100% of the top performing shops are leveraging technology in a big way. And that gap between top shops and bottom shops is continuing to widen and will continue to widen because of that technology gap. In my view, there are 4 main reasons why technology is more important today than ever. And the first is exactly what Mike touched upon. It's managing your online presence. From all the shops that we talk to on a day-to-day basis, only 1 in 4 shops actively manage their online reviews. And I find that insane because right now in today's economy, 9 out of 10 consumers check reviews online before making any purchase. And so I think it's beholden on a shop to take control and a hold of their online reviews and manage it very actively. And I've seen shops come in where, you know, they had no idea they had a 1.5 star out of 5 on Google. And that's been there for years. And that's the first thing that consumers see when they Google auto repair shop in whatever, the New York State. And so what's interesting though, is this is something that with the proper tools and software, you can actively manage and turn around in a very quick way. So we've had customers change 2 out of 5 star reviews to a 4.5 out of 5 star reviews in a matter of 3 months. And so it's very fixable. You just have to commit to it. The second reason why I think technology is super important now more than ever is changing consumer expectations, right? If you think about the proliferation of software, it's everywhere, right? If you think of the last time, at least when I made my dentist appointment, now I get email and text reminders of my next dentist appointment, and then trying to schedule the next appointment via email and text. And, you know, whether it's I'm waiting for my Amazon package, it's delivery's on its way, the level of interaction and the level of engagement has really stepped up. And now the auto repair industry needs to meet consumers where they are today. And that is being very proactive with managing those customer relationships. The third one worth mentioning, and I touched upon this earlier on, was building customer trust. And again, trust is something that, you know, distrust is something that unfairly plagues this industry. But with modern software, with things like digital vehicle inspections, actually showing the consumer what you're talking about, and increased communication on, hey, your job will be ready in X period of time, or email reminder on your scheduling appointment. All that sort of stuff builds the trust and helps you build that brand that Chris was talking about earlier, and getting you that ideal customer and that lifelong customer, which is much more beneficial from a profitability perspective for a shop. And the last one, in terms of technology, technology really enables you to truly understand your business. What also I find interesting is a lot of shops don't actually look at their metrics or their financials often enough, and they may come up for air, once a year to thoroughly look at their financials, and it's mostly for tax reasons and not for business performance reasons. And your financials and your key metrics are the lifeblood and the pulse of your business, and that's something you truly need to take some time to understand, because modern tools can illuminate, hey, you're doing XYZ job unprofitably, or this technician is actually performing way less efficient than all your other technicians, and you need to do some coaching there and fix that issue. But without looking at the metrics and the numbers, you'll never know. And so one piece that I do realize is that a lot of shop owners grew up as mechanics, and they want to turn wrenches, and they're not necessarily have taken advanced accounting in college or any sort of pretty mundane course like that. But I would say seek the help that you need. And even if I can be helpful, pick up the phone, give me a call. If you don't see if you see a number in your financials you don't understand, me and a bunch of people on my team happy to talk through that. A lot of folks are pretty financially literate from an accounting standpoint on our team. The other piece that I would say, now stepping back, some of the pitfalls that I see when people look to embrace software, the number one pitfall I think is people are go into it half-hearted. It is a big change, but a big change that can have very material impact into your business, like game-changing impact in your business. But you have to be all in. You have to be open to changing some of your processes. You have to be open to really leveraging, many of the features and most of the features that a piece of software offers. It's interesting. Most of our customers only use 20% of the features that we have at AutoLeap, and the remaining 80% that we have that's unused. The fascinating thing is that 80% came from suggestions from our top shops, and we took their suggestions, implemented those features into our software, but the vast majority of folks still don't use it. And so you're already paying, so get the most you can out of that piece. And the last word of advice when it comes to implementing software would be designate a champion in your company to help with that implementation. It's instead of thinking that whether it's AutoLeap or not, this software provider is going to do it for me. No one's going to do it for you. The software provider is going to be the coach, and the person you designate in your company is going to be the star player. And that coach is going to help that star player achieve all that they can achieve, but they have to be one on the hook for making that successful within the company. I'll pause here and see if there are any questions, Bob.
Boy, great messages for sure. Brian, what are your thoughts on what Steve was just saying about changes in technology in the industry?
Yeah, it's changing let alone the cars, how they're changing. Like you said, Steve, the technology that we have to present that to the customers is where it's at. It creates transparency. It creates that trust. And when, in the old days, like Mike talked about with, word of mouth, you used to be able to have someone in the shop come in and let me show you what this is. Now you've got technology in today's world with a text to shoot an inspection of them, and it sells. I mean, because they can see that this is my car, this is what's wrong with it. Only thing I'm doing is presenting that to you in a way that they can get their hands on it quickly and make a good decision. And when they can see it and touch it and feel it, it creates that trust.
Yeah, great message. How about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on what Steve just said about technology?
The thing that stuck out to me the most, Steve, and you are spot on, is that no matter what software, I think we're all guilty of this. We figure out how to use it enough to get a ticket and get inventory processed and run it through a matrix. And what I find with my clients is you're exactly right. 20% of that software is getting utilized, and 80%, I didn't know it would do that. And it's just training, and it's getting comfortable or too comfortable with that and not pushing, and I think in the coaching process, I tend to do that. I tend to push for those KPIs. I grew up at a time in our business, we had our first computer in 91. I remember my dad in the 80s, 70s and 80s, he had no idea if he was profitable other than the checking account. And he would go to the accountant's office in November and have a look back. And yeah, it looks like you're going to make it another year. What's really weird is we have all this technology at our fingertips, and a lot of shop owners still react the same way. They have all the information, look at it daily, weekly, monthly, but still don't go to it until it's tax time. And quite honestly, it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah. Boy, is that well said or what, gentlemen? Is that well said or what? Mike, what about you? What would you like to add to what Steve just said about the changes in technology for the industry?
Yeah, I mean, he gave a lot of good points. I mean, one of the things that stood out was, and Brian sort of alluded to it as well, was about the trust, right? When you talk about the DVI and being able to actually see it, I remember when I first got into the business, there was no DVI. And the Car Care Council said that at the time, 73% of people declined that recommendation on that first. It was either trust, right? Is this person trying to upsell me on something? Or it was either, I don't get paid till Friday, so I can't afford to get my timing belt replaced, right? So there was so much uncertainty back then. And then you fast forward to today where, like Brian said, you could see photos and video of, your timing belt broken or your brakes worn down or something. Now those numbers are actually flipped. It's about 25% of people say no, and about 75% say actually yes. Wow, I didn't realize they were that bad. So that's how far technology, has come. And then I think Steve had mentioned, about the reviews and responding. That's a critical piece too. I think, would you say 1 in 4, Steve? I think that's what it was. Respond. That's a critical piece. I mean, the interesting thing is, people don't expect perfection. What they do expect is follow through. So if I go to your Google page and if I see 1,000 flawless 5-star reviews, I'm scratching my head going, who's he paying to write the fake reviews? Like, it just doesn't appear to be authentic. But if I saw 1,000 reviews and, maybe 990 of those were 5 stars and you had 7 that were 4 stars and maybe a couple of them that were 1 star, but the owner took the time to respond to all of those reviews, including the good ones. I always say including the good ones. That speaks more volume than 1,000 5-star reviews. Tells me that, this person's not perfect, but when things fall through the cracks, he's on it, he or she's on it. They're quick to resolve the problem. They care about their business. They care about their customers. So reviews and responding is a big deal. And then to kind of add to that as we start to close the webinar is, if you had one 1-star review, that's a 1-star rating, right? But if you had a total of 2 reviews, one is 1 star, one is 5-star, what does that give you? A 3-star. And then you get 7 5-star reviews. What is that? 3-star moves to a 4-star. And it just becomes a snowball effect to start to work you towards that 5-star review. Ask your customers for reviews. Really, really great point, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting. It gives you a chance to address the issues for that low reviews, but the feedback that you get from those unhappy customers, that's gold. As much as nobody likes hearing criticism, right? But oftentimes people are too nice to give you the straight goods in terms of what you're doing wrong. And if people have the sort of motivation to actually put that online and give you rationale for why they're giving that low review, you have an opportunity to figure out what's wrong in your business and what's pissing off this customer, and then an opportunity to rectify it so that it never happens again. And I think that's worth its weight in gold. And so it gives you a chance to address that.
Yeah, guys and gals, to all of the audience, and I believe that our panel is probably aware of this working with the Elite, but the reality of it is it was quite a few years ago. I'm going to guess maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the Marriott Corporation, the hotelier, did a survey, and they were interested. They were actually intrigued in the fact that they were getting better reviews from clients that, or customers, I should say, that came to their hotel and had a problem that was successfully resolved. They got better reviews from those people than people that had flawless experiences at the hotel. And the epiphany for them was when people come to a Marriott, they expect it to be flawless. So if it is flawless, it's no big deal. On the other hand, when they come to a Marriott, if there is a mistake, they expect the mistake to not be addressed, unfortunately. So if it is addressed well, then they're really thrilled. So what is the reality here? The reality of it is when you have these people that aren't quite pleased, what a great opportunity for you to turn them into really, really raving fans. You know, Marie asked a really great question. Marie, God bless you, said, how do I encourage my staff to complete training and utilize the programs that are provided? Marie, this is just employee management in a very general sense. It starts with you. It starts with you. It starts with the goals of the company. It starts with you believing in what you're doing. It starts with you sitting down, having conversations with the guys and gals that work with you, so you're able to get the follow through that you're getting. And Mike, to that point, Mike, we should have one other poll. And to Marie's great question, by the way, and Marie, we can help you. You can put your mind at ease. But Mike, could you pull up the fourth poll and let's see if we're able to launch it?
Everybody cross their fingers. This should be good. I saw somebody in the chat say that there was an error message. So fingers crossed.
See if you're able to do this one, guys and gals.
Yeah.
Oh! Well, we got one. Here come the answers. Here come the answers. Now they're pouring in. Thank the good Lord, right? We got this one right, right?
Yes. All right, here we go. 20 seconds, 2 and 1.
Okay, guys and gals, you bet it's all of the above. You know, when it comes to setting the goals of the company, in order to be successful in business and in life, you need to have clearly defined goals that you really do believe in. You can't delegate that. You can't eliminate it. You can't make it go away. This is something you have to have. We're coming into the end of the year. I can't think of a better time for you to make sure that you revisit your goals for 2022 forward, or if you don't have them in place yet, God bless you, get those goals in place. Number 2, creating a plan. How do you get from here to there? The goal is to journey. The goal is to go from San Diego to New York or whatever it is. But how do you do that? That's the plan that you need to have in order to build your company. Number 3, you got to hire remarkable people. Everybody on this panel knows that. You need to make sure that the guys and gals that work with you have the right attitude, the right aptitude, and the right ethic. You need the guys and gals that have what we call at Elite star stuff. And you know what? If you do the things that Brian is asking you to do with your brand, if you do the things that Chris is asking you to do with your brand, if you do the things with your online presence and your software that Steve and Mike are asking you to do for imagery, you know what? Those rock stars are going to want to come and work with you. But then it's just like marriage, right? Once you get married, that's the easy part. Staying married is the hard part. So what you need to do is you need to bring out the best in the people that work with you. This is a responsibility that you have as a business owner. And obviously this is ensuring the success of the company. So when it comes to a business owner, all of you, you do have a job description. It's not only these items, but you know what we have available for all of you? I'm actually going to close out this poll on my screen. We actually have a document that I created probably about 8 or 10 years ago. It's about 16 pages long. It's a written job description for shop owners. It goes into great detail about each one of these responsibilities that you have as a business owner. If you want a copy of this, all that you need to do is, because we got so many people online here, all that you need to do is type in JD for job description in the chat field. Type it in right now, JD, and I'll make sure that we get a copy of this job description sent off to you. And then that way you could go through it at your leisure and you could have a better understanding of not only the things that you need to do, but how to do it just as importantly. Brian, we're going to wrap up in just a few minutes. And I had some closing thoughts for these guys as well, but do you have a moment or so to share any closing thoughts with the audience?
Well, I think the biggest thing is go down to your core values. Your values are what dictate what you do. If you can do that and create a team that all have the same values, you will have happy customers. You'll create a place where people really enjoy coming in an industry that they don't enjoy coming to. But you'll create relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is to create relationships. We just happen to work on cars to do that. So.
Well, what a great message, huh? What a great message. Chris, what about you? Any closing thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience?
I would underscore the relationship, as Brian said. I think that's what our business model is built around, and ways that you can continue to keep those relationships coming in your door, whether it be other services that you offer, it be tires, it be a focus on EV vehicles, or any other technologies that are coming downstream. Building your brand letting people know what you do. I think one of the things that we've kind of missed on, or I didn't touch on it, but I would like to, is serve your community. I think we all have opportunities to serve on different boards, serve in different ways, lead from the back, get out in your community, and you don't have to get out there and give your business card out. Just get out there and do some work. People will ask your questions. They will get to know you. It's a powerful way to connect with your community. Elite has just finished or is in the process of raising money for dog cancer, and it's been a great campaign. And you know, those kinds of things, that's what it's about. You know, that's what it's about.
Boy, what a great message, guys and gals. Before we go any further, I think the principles that you hear from Brian and that you hear from Chris are pretty self-evident, and now you know why they're successful as they are in business. Steve, what about you? What closing comments do you have for our audience today?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say when it comes to technology, the time to act is now, given the change in the industry dynamic, whether AutoLeap or not, right? It's the time to use technology to enable you to do everything that Chris, Mike, and Brian have talked about. You can do it 10 times faster and easier with technology. And so don't sell yourself short. Don't be stuck in complacency. Act now and explore that avenue.
Yeah, you know, and Steve, what a great comment. To Steve's comment, I think all of you could probably agree. We live in a world of technology. It's everywhere and anywhere. You can't walk into a restaurant without having a QR code in front of you. So the reality of it is, customers today have an expectation. You're going to work on their automobile. They know it's rich with technology. They need to see you're capitalizing, you're utilizing technology in every aspect of your business as well. So, Steve, I agree with you 1,000%. You know, this is how people are going to make a decision whether or not they're dealing with the right people, for sure. Great comment, Steve. Mike, what about you? What closing thoughts do you have for these guys and gals?
Yeah, Bob, I know today I talked a lot about online presence, and online presence is a critical part, and it's a big part. But there is a much bigger picture than that. You know, when I launched the campaign, or when me and my former company launched the campaign, the 1,000 shop visits, and the goal was to see 1,000 shops. Over 10 years, I've been to over 1,300. And the first thing that I would do would be to put myself in the shoes of a customer. As I'm driving through the neighborhood, what kind of neighborhood was it? What was there ample parking? When I walked through the door, was I greeted by the advisor? When I sat down in the lobby, were there old magazines that were, you know, sitting on the coffee table, right? I really took this deep dive into that customer journey, if you will, and I put myself in the shoes of a customer. So just think, you know, the online presence is going to help mostly with attracting new customers, but you have to keep them. Don't forget that. You keep them through kindness. And, you know, as Chris mentioned, one of the parts that I love what he mentioned is serve your community. Be a big face in the community. It's more of it should be more of an intrinsic reward than about economics. Economics will follow, but if you operate with an intrinsic reward of doing good for you, your customers, your community, keeping people safe on the road, you're going to excel. So those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, there you go, guys and gals. It really can't get any better than that. So look, before I let all of you go, I'd like to do a couple things. So all of you in the audience, I would like to leave you with some thoughts. Number one, the first thing that I'm going to encourage you to do is, if you want to get a copy, as I mentioned earlier, of this job description, it's, I believe, 14 or 16 pages long. It's for shop owners, and it covers everything that you'll need to understand about the goals, the plan, bringing on the right people, and even help you with managing your time as well. All that you need to do is type JD into the chat field and send it off to us. It's just that easy. If you want to learn more about AutoLeap and how the good people at AutoLeap can help you with what you're looking to do, all that you'll need to do is type AutoLeap into the chat. That's really easy to do. Just type it in, AutoLeap. Or if you'd like, you can visit their website. Or if you'd like, you could actually give them a call. Their number is 855-560-0088. That number again, 855-560-0088. Now, if you'd like to do one other thing for me, I would certainly appreciate it. We would like to learn from you as to some of the subject matters that you would like to see covered in the future. So if you could take just a moment and type into the chat field the topics that you think you would like for us to cover as we move forward in 2022, it would be very, very much appreciated. It sure would, because this is how we're going to learn. We're also, by the way, for all of you, our business is really no different than yours. We care about you. We want to make sure that we're meeting the mark with you. So, and the same way that Brian and Chris were talking about following up with customers, we're going to do the same as well. We'll be in touch with you because we want to learn from you. Did the content that we shared with you today specifically meet with your expectations? We would absolutely love to hear from you. Lastly, I can't let this meeting go to an end without thanking my dear friend Brian for doing an extraordinary job and everything that he and his brother Chris and everyone in his family at ATC does for the industry. Same is true with you, Chris Monroe. I love you, man, and everything that you do, not only for us as a business development coach, but everything that you do for the industry. This industry is certainly a far better industry because of you. Steve, for you to be able to take your time out today to join us and help all of us better understand what's going on in the world of technology and some of those pitfalls that we need to avoid is appreciated more than you can imagine as well. And Mike, you're always a wealth of knowledge. I always learn from you when I hear you talk about online presence and things that shop owners and all of us need to do. It's appreciated more than you can imagine. And Mike, thank you too for being a part of our family here at Elite. And then lastly, and certainly not least, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. I know that your time is valuable. I know that there's other places you could be. I know that there's other things you could be doing. And the fact that you gave it up to be with us is an absolute honor, to say the least. So thank you again. I can only hope that we met with your expectation. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, very Merry Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you this coming year. Thanks again for being here today.